Congratulations, Brad Marchand. You are the sole contributor to years and years and years multiplied amongst a number of lives lost amongst this Toronto Maple Leafs fan base. As a member of the Boston Bruins, as a member of the Florida Panthers, Brad Marchand has seen it all. He has killed it all, as he has now been promoted to the Leafs Killer Hall of Fame. In fact, maybe there are a few guys on the Maple Leafs themselves that could be in this Hall of Fame. Not as players that play against Toronto, but players who actively don't help the Maple Leafs win. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 3 a.m. in the morning, and I am making a video commentary about the Toronto Maple Leafs and their Game 7 embarrassment on home ice against the Florida Panthers. Now, I know that the Steve Dangle video has already been out there. There have been some other fantastic commentaries about the Toronto Maple Leafs from various sources. It was talked about on TSN, on Sportsnet, post-game shows all over YouTube, and everywhere else on social media. This is the most embarrassing Game 7 at-home loss we have seen, at the very least since 2011 in the Game 7 final series. And I will definitely take my own shots at the Vancouver Canucks and my favorite team here, because they are not perfect either. And that Game 7 4-0 defeat at the hands of Tim Thomas and the Boston Bruins was one that I think you could also say is very, very embarrassing as a Canucks fan, although you have to remember, when the Vancouver Canucks lost to the Boston Bruins on home ice in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, Vancouver had 37 shots in that game. Nevertheless, Brad Marchand, he had 3 points in that Game 7 too, but Marchand in this Game 7 against Toronto, he's like, what is that? He's like Kawhi Leonard. Is this the dagger? Oh, yeah, that was the dagger. Right there. Brad Marchand shoves the dagger right into the esophagus and the hearts of the Toronto Maple Leafs fan base. And, yeah, you know, the Leafs, they had 20 shots in this game. And 20 shots might sound like a lot, but they did have their most productive shooting period in the third, where they had 8 shots on goal. That doesn't really tell the story, though. How do we tell the story? How do we do that without saying the same things that everybody else has said? Okay, we can just start out by saying, aside the fact that this was the biggest margin of defeat for a home team in a Game 7 in NHL history, that there's a reason why the boos were raining down in Toronto last night. There's a reason why jerseys were tossed out there onto the ice last night. There's a reason why, in the post-game press conferences, Brad Marchand and the Florida Panthers staff, they were going out there and saying pitiful statements against the Maple Leafs. Oh, they're building something great here in Toronto. Oh, that's a hard team to play against. Oh, that's a better team than they were when we played them last time. Yeah, well, when the Panthers played the Leafs last time, they absolutely destroyed Toronto. And this Game 7 was oddly indicative of that same energy. The Maple Leafs matched the largest margin of defeat by a home team in a Game 7. Crazy. Another stat here posted by Sportsnet Stats on Twitter. The Maple Leafs now own the second longest losing streak in NHL history in winner-take-all games. What does that mean? Best of 7, best of 5. Fantastic. And they have that because the Rangers' record of 10 straight consecutive winner-take-all games were in 5-game series is back in the 30s. But the Maple Leafs, oh boy, 8. Kind of interesting how the Colorado Avalanche won the Cup in 2022 without winning a single Game 7, but I guess that was just the dominance of that team all the way back in that time frame. But then you gotta think, like, yeah, that's the caliber of team that you need to get a Stanley Cup champion. That's definitely not what we are seeing out of the Toronto Maple Leafs in this generation's worth of NHL play, especially with the guys at the top. You know what Nathan MacKinnon did in the Stanley Cup playoffs of 2022 when they won the Cup? Yeah, he was over a point per game. Same with Rantanen. Same with Cale Makar. That team had the X factor. Toronto, with their core, we are just not seeing that, unfortunately. And I think the best stat of all that was also posted and talked about here on Sportsnet Stats, aside from the Brad Marchand thing, Maple Leafs in winner-take-all games since 2018. 0-7, 9 goals for, 28 goals against, 1 for 11 on the power play, .893 save percentage, and Matthews and Marner have 5 points combined. Sportsnet Stats last night was out on a mission. They wanted to go out there and layeth the smack down on how badly this core performs. Matthews in Game 7s, 0 goals, 3 points. Marner in Game 7s, 0 goals, 2 points. Nylander in Game 7s, okay, he's got 2 goals and 4 points, that's a lot better. Mo Riley has 1 goal and 0 assists in 6 Game 7s. Since 2018, this core is done. John Tavares is gonna leave. Mitch Marner is gonna leave. And I saw somebody talking about this on Twitter. I didn't want to put it in the title or the thumbnail because I don't want to be accused of anything, but like, how ridiculous would it be for Brad Treliving to let both Johnny Gaudreau and inevitably Mitch Marner walk as the GM of 2 separate Canadian franchises? Johnny Gaudreau was a 100-point player the season he left the Calgary Flames and Brad Treliving's situation there. Mitch Marner? Same thing. He's also a 100-point guy that Brad Treliving is going to let walk on his watch. I mean, he has his first 100-point season ever. Marner has 75 assists on a season. And what? Only to get bounced by Brad Marchand and the Florida Panthers in the first round. Again. Okay, they didn't get bounced by Florida last time, but you get what I mean. It's Brad Marchand all over again. This guy is Toronto kryptonite, it seems. And I think we are getting to that point where it's just cementing itself in the minds of every hockey fan that even remotely pays attention to the stories and situations around the National Hockey League that, yeah, this Maple Leafs team, they are not going to be coming back with that same core. They can't. They absolutely cannot afford to do so. If they do, it would be the total wrong message sent to the fans of this team who are angry, tossing their jerseys, tossing their beer, tossing their hot dogs, tossing whatever it is out there onto the ice. Fans that paid their hard-earned money to get tickets to this Game 7. Fans that stood in the streets of Toronto cheering the team on because they believed. Brad Marchand with that empty net goal, 6-1. Was that the dagger? Yeah, it was. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Toronto Maple Leafs and their defeat at the hands of the Florida Panthers. It's going to be Carolina and Florida in the East and Edmonton, Dallas in the West. We will maybe start making some content about what happens in these games, who really knows, but for now, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Toronto. This is the end of an era. Matthews, we'll see what happens with him. Marner is definitely gone. Who knows what the future holds for this Maple Leafs squad, but I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.